Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bennington Select Board meeting of August 25th, 2025. We are at the third floor multi-purpose room at the Bennington Fire Facility at 130 River Street in Bennington. My name is Tom Haley. I have the honor of chairing this board, and I will ask my other board members to introduce themselves, starting with Nancy.
Hi, I'm Nancy White.
Good evening, Sarah Perrin.
Hello, Jim Sullivan.
Good evening, I'm Jackie Matz.
Yes, good day, Clark Adams.
And we will begin tonight, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Actually, one item first, I'm going to ask for an amendment to the agenda. I am requesting to add an agenda item under Community Policing Advisory Review Board. We'll call it Agenda Item 8A, if you guys are accepting. I would like to discuss a temporary modification of their charge. Could I have a motion to that effect? And a second?
A second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. So now, as we always do, to the Pledge of Allegiance. Clark?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Clark, for fighting through the allergies. And now, Sarah, would you read our vision statement, which guides our work?
Sure. If I can, yes. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of August 11th and August 18th, and the warrants. For the purpose of discussion, could I have a motion to accept, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Anything on the minutes or the warrants? All right. Seeing nothing, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of August 11th and August 18th and the warrants, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Now on to the public comment period. Public comment is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subjects that are not on the agenda. We do ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. State your legal name and town of residence. Sharing comments, announcements, and concerns are encouraged rather than asking questions. Public comment is not a time for discussion. If you do have specific questions, it's best to contact the manager to get a full explanation and accurate information. If a question is asked and we think we have the information to address it tonight, we will address it at the end of the comment period. Dan, I know you gave me the list. Here it is. First, we have Mary Morrissey, wants to talk on the trail system.
Good evening, Mary Morrissey, Bennington. I have recently, within the last week, have gotten a number of calls from folks on Fuller Road in regards to the proposed trail system that has been discussed over the years from going from Bennington to Williamstown. Many of the residents along that area are concerned because they feel a little bit left out of the discussion as all of a sudden things are being discussed. Recently, one of the folks that called me was a representative from the Catamount Bow Hunting Club that's off of Fuller Road there, and they do quite a bit with our veterans at the Veterans Home. They do bow hunting there, and a lot of these folks in that area just simply want to know how this is going to affect their property. I remember years ago when it was first proposed, and it was State Trooper Nickerson who lived in the first house on Fuller Road. And literally, that trail was going to go right through his backyard. And, you know, how would any of us like that? You know, you buy a property and all of a sudden you've got where a trail can possibly go through your yard. I remember they did a survey of many of the properties going from Bennington down to Williamstown, or at least to the Pownell area, and many of the residents, property owners, whether it was homeowners or businesses, were not in favor of the trail. So I am just please asking that as these discussions are being had, and I don't know what has raised the question this time, but they're hearing that a permit was possibly acquired from the state, but we don't get updates, so I don't know what's going on, and I'd like to be able to respectfully respond to these folks, or you folks be able to respectfully respond to them, because there is quite a bit of concern in regards to it. I had at least 3 or 4 calls last week. So if at some point you might think of bringing it to the board, or a listening session that folks are updated as to what all these trails are around town, so that we do know how it will proceed forward or not. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Mike Bethel.
Hi, I'm just Mike Bethel from Bennington. Reading in the paper, it was sad to hear about Stu, and I hope he has a speedy recovery. I wish him the best. Hope he gets back on his feet. You know, God bless him and everything. Dan's been doing a pretty good job, but the discussions I've always had with Stu over the years have been a lot of fun, to be honest with you. And I just hope he gets well very soon. And the other thing is, Ed Woods isn't here, but I wanted to congratulate, to a degree, Ed Woods and the family for selling, you know, and making the money they want on the Naughty Pine. But it's sad in a way, because that's about the last motel that always had a lot of class, and I stayed there many times over the many years that I came up and visited relatives and stuff. And it's just, it's dying out. And I hope that whoever bought it keeps it up as classy as the Blutos did. And Tom, the late Tom Bluto, and Barbara Bluto, they were terrific for Bennington, as representatives to Bennington. So those are the 2 things I wanted to say. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Todd Clark, who wants to talk to us on traffic. This on Do Not Disturb. It's disturbing me.
Hi, my name's Todd Clark. I live on Prospect Street in Bennington. Wanted to find out what the status is of the traffic calming efforts that were discussed a couple of months ago. When I pulled down to South Street to come into town, cars are flying up 7, and it's kind of dangerous when I pull out into the street. The other thing is, can we prohibit engine braking in Bennington? I'm an early riser. I was up this morning before 6. I heard a truck coming down the hill with the engine brake. I've even heard them on Main Street. If we could put signs at the entrance to town that the select board has prohibited engine braking, I think that would be an improvement. So that's it.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak that didn't have a chance to sign up before the meeting? Okay. Jim, did you want to?
I just want to ask Dan, the traffic calming stuff, I think we can follow up on. I know a lot of towns have those no engine brake signs. Is that something Bennington's ever looked at?
We have looked at in the past. I actually honestly don't recall what the conclusion was, but I do know that at best you should just suggest they not be used, but from a safety standpoint, if people need to use them, they need to use them. So we can certainly look into that and get a definitive answer, but I know that we've discussed it in the past and have decided not to restrict them for either because we couldn't or that we shouldn't.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I suspect, because I can hear them from my house when they're braking coming down 279, going down off Whipstock Hill, but there's high speed,
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, coming down South Street where they, God willing, are going a lot slower to start with, maybe they wouldn't need them there, but just curious, so.
We can certainly look into that. Yeah.
Excuse me. I recently found on the town website a policy the select board approved, and it must have been 25 years ago, having to do with noise in Bennington, whether it was mufflers on a car or loud music. And I don't remember if those breaks were included in the policy. And I tried to find it again, and I can't, so I'll check with Jonah, but do you remember if that was included?
We do have a noise ordinance, that's probably what you're talking about, and I don't think it explicitly references engine braking, but we could certainly see. Yeah. Tom, I can address a couple of other things that
Thank
came up,
you.
just if you think it's appropriate. So with regard to traffic calming, this board did approve and adopt a policy regarding how folks could request traffic calming to be looked at on the certain sections of roadways. It does have to be a town roadway. So for instance, unfortunately, South Street is a state road and we don't have jurisdiction over that road. So we wouldn't be able to implement traffic calming on state roadways. However, if it's a town road, we can look at them, and there is a whole process, and I know that we have that on our website, and if you want to have more specific information, I'd recommend that you contact Jonah Spivak, and he can send folks that information. So if you do have a traffic calming concern, please contact Jonah, and he'll send you the policy and the documents that you'll need to institute a review. And we have had a couple of those, and we're starting to look at those. So that's the traffic calming. I do want to address, and maybe Jim may have some recollection too, I guess it's a so-called trolley line. I assume that's what Representative Morrissey was regarding or asking about. So there are absolutely no discussions at the town of Bennington level regarding instituting a trail on or near Fuller Road. I can assure you that if there were, they would be brought to this board, and if there was any taking required, then that would obviously require approval from this board to proceed with the taking. And I just want to be very clear, at this time, there's no discussion about any takings with regard to a trolley line trail to Williamstown. There are just general discussions that Massachusetts and Vermont continue to have regarding connecting trails, bike ped trails throughout the region, but there have been no specific discussions with property owners or even amongst staff regarding anything on Fuller Road. So just please, Mary, put your folks' minds at ease. I could also remind everyone, if they have questions, they can call the town office, and we'd be happy to discuss that with them. They don't need to have an intermediary come to this meeting. They could certainly just pick up the phone or send us an email, and we'd be happy to discuss it with them. So if there's any lingering concerns that folks have that haven't been answered by this response, feel free to call the town office.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that is regarding the Fuller Road area. You're right. There's an ad hoc committee that's looking at bike corridors through the region at large, and Bennington in particular. And one of the possible routes that had been identified is along the former, quote, southern leg of the Bennington bypass, Route 279, where the roadbed was all built for a high-speed limited access highway. So, and it's currently state-owned. So there have been discussions among that ad hoc group of possibly using that and I think I've mentioned it at this board, using that as as an alignment for a bike path, because the property is already in public ownership and the base is already built. So that's it.
We'll just remind folks that ad hoc committees are not government committees, and that they're people getting together and sharing ideas that may eventually come to this board, but at this point, it's nothing official. Jackie, do you have something? Or Clark?
Yeah, to follow up on Representative Morrison's concerns, I too have been contacted by multiple individuals concerned about the development, to the point where one actually told me there was brush being cleared out through there, and the person they spoke to claimed to have had a permit that had been issued by the town. Sounds like that's not the case. But I also invited those individuals, please come before this board and, cite specifics and get their questions answered directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So I encourage folks to, please, if you do have concerns, we're more than willing to answer them. And as Tom just said, these committees or these groups of individuals putting these plans together don't speak for this board. And I don't want disharmony or worry in the community needlessly. So please come see us if these meetings are down at the town offices if need be.
All right. So we'll move on. We have the Bennington Battle Monument Resolution. This came about as a result of one of our listening sessions, and Jim Sullivan is going to lead this discussion.
Thanks, Tom. As Tom mentioned, after that listening session, during that listening session, it was determined that it would be appropriate for the town to put forward an official position regarding the battle monument and the preservation of the battle monument. So Jonah helped draft a resolution, and I looked it over and added a little bit, and some historic preservation experts added a little bit of detail to it, and the result is this draft that I have in front of me, which I will read if it's appropriate this time. Yeah?
Go crazy.
Okay. A resolution in support of the Bennington Battle Monument. We, the citizens of Bennington, as represented by the Bennington Select Board, unequivocally support the historically accurate restoration of the Bennington Battle Monument. The monument is the tallest man-made building in the state of Vermont and is the second tallest unreinforced masonry building in the United States. It is Vermont's most visited state historic site. The monument symbolizes pride in our state and recognizes the pivotal role that the Battle of Bennington played in the founding of our state and the nation. A public listening session on the history and current condition of the monument held on June 25, 2025, demonstrated that the community is united in supporting restoration of the monument. Vermont Senator Rob Plunkett spoke at that meeting and described the monument as, quote, the needle that sews together the fabric of the town. Therefore, be it resolved, whereas the Battle of Bennington that occurred on August 16, 1777 was a significant victory in the American Revolution and the founding of the Republic of Vermont, and whereas the Battle of Bennington has been commemorated every year since the first anniversary in 1778, and whereas the Bennington Battle Monument was built in 1889 and dedicated in 1891 to commemorate the Battle of Bennington and those who fought for independence, and whereas the Bennington Battle Monument was recognized for its national significance by the National Register of Historic Places in 1971, and whereas the state of Vermont is currently working on plans to address the deferred maintenance and restoration needs of the monument, and whereas the restoration of the monument is of vital importance to preserve and commemorate Vermont's history and the narrative of the founding of the United States of America, and whereas an entire section of Bennington's scenic resources inventory is devoted to the Bennington Battle Monument, and that document states, quote, the monument may have been built to honor an important moment in history, but it has come to symbolize much more. It is Bennington's icon and a part of everyday life in the town, the ideal visual and symbolic focal point for some of the area's best scenic views, and whereas the monument is an important economic asset to the state of Vermont and especially to local businesses in in Bennington and surrounding communities, and whereas the monument is an essential part of Bennington's sense of place and community identity, reflected by the fact that its image is prominently displayed on the town logo and official town documents, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Bennington Select Board, hereby support in full the restoration of the Bennington Battle Monument, and we urge our legislative delegation and representatives from all of Vermont to join together to ensure that the Bennington Battle Monument is preserved, protected, and cared for to be appreciated by future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, since we will probably be asking this board to accept this resolution this evening, I will open it up first to any comments from the public. In the back.
Hi, Thomas Sheets. I live on Monument Circle. I'd like to thank the board for this great first step in highlighting how important this is to our town. However, I would also like to say that I do still think it is urgent that we set up some sort of fund to collect donations for the restoration. I'm aware that the $40 million figure may not be super accurate, but I think because of how well it's been circulated, I'm not sure people in the state will take us too seriously unless we're also invested in it monetarily. I hope that's not true, but I do worry that it is true. Thank you.
Mary?
Mary Morrissey, Bennington. Unfortunately, I was not able to make that listening session that you spoke about the monument, and I do sit on the committee of institutions and corrections that deals with the monument property. I am in the middle of planning, hopefully for the House delegation. Oh, and I should also say Will Greer, who could not be here tonight, also is on the committee with me. And I'm trying to right now plan a legislative day where both committees, the Senate and the House, would come down, and we would have our delegation, and I will see if it's appropriate to ask if any of you might want to come. The historic preservation person, Laura Trishman, would be coming down too. My comments during the session were they had not finished analyzing what was needed to be done, and how they ever came up with a $40 million price tag is beyond me, but it may get there, hopefully not, but we need to have all hands on deck to make sure this does not lose sight as the importance for the state. So we will certainly work hard on behalf of the community to make sure that this gets done.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rob Plunkett, Bennington, and I'm on the other side, up in Montpelier, Senate Institutions, and I'm sorry, that was moving, Jim, thank you. Thank you for quoting me, but more importantly, thank you for the words unequivocal and united. And I know that this town is absolutely united on this symbol that is so important to us. And rest assured, you all, that your legislative delegation is also absolutely united on taking this forward. This resolution is going to help us a great deal. And I'm very much looking forward to our tour when we all come down and have this, and we'll find out what date that is. Hopefully it's not in a snowstorm in December. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yep. Cat TV can't hear you as well, Mike, I'm sorry.
I can't believe anybody in Bennington wouldn't want the monument preserved and everything. Does anybody from upstate have any word that this isn't a popular thing upstate to do? I mean, it is a state monument. Do you guys know that, or can you ask them?
I haven't heard anything to the contrary, and I don't...
I can't imagine that the state won't come up with the money. And if, like the young person said, if there's a way we can do which might get Bennington some attention, on the internet, do a Fund Me type page for the monument. It's as old as Jim Sullivan, and we need to preserve it. And, oh, I'm sorry, Jim. I always pick on you, and I don't know why. But it's just I think it might be a good chance for Bennington to raise some money. You get something on Jonah could get it on the website or something saying the state is trying to preserve and explain what the value of the monument is, what it's done to the, history of going along with 250 and yada, yada, yada. So I think it's an opportunity to do a good sales pitch, plus obviously raise some money for the monument. And if the rest of the state sees that the people in Bennington are trying to do that, they might not be any negative or too much negative about putting money into it. So.
Thanks.
Think you could do that?
I think we could probably, when it's appropriate.
Jim, well, you've got to start get going. You just wrote a resolution. I mean, But all right, thank you.
Mary, did you have something to reply to Mike's? I thought I saw you raise your hand.
All I was going to mention is we've had some pretty way out there discussions in our committee with people saying from other parts of the state that we should tear it down. Or one of my members, and though I said we appreciated his thoughts, he wanted to wrap the monument in copper. And I said, I don't think the citizens of Bennington will want anything other than what we have here. And if you talk about tearing it down, you might have World War III, another battle on that property.
Anyone else from the community have any comments? Jonah?
I just wanted to comment, not as my role as communications coordinator, but rather as the chair of the Bennington 250th Anniversary Planning Committee. You heard from a great number of our members when they came out for the listening session specifically. It was an honor for me to work with Jim to draft this resolution. Just wanted to clearly state, in case there was any confusion, that obviously the 250th feels that the restoration of the monument is a key piece of the work that we'll be doing. Because remember, it's not just about commemorating the past, but most importantly, it's about putting these stories forward to the future, for these future generations. And we do that by preserving and protecting that battle monument that we have now. Thank you.
Well said, thank you. Anyone else? All right, then I would ask for a motion to accept the resolution for purposes of discussion. Clark, thank you. Second?
Second?
Everyone wanted to second that, Nancy, so you can. All right, so any discussion by the board? Clark?
I can't find anything wrong with what's been said here tonight, but I want to point out the presence of our legislative representatives here warms my heart.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you being here.
Anything else from anyone? All right, then I would call the vote. All in favor of accepting the resolution as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right.
Tom,
Thank you.
I'll circulate the...
Thank you very much, Tim. All right, next we have the opioid settlements update with some resolutions.
Okay.
Mr. Monks.
All right, you folks may recall that this town is authorized by the Select Board, elected to participate in some litigation against opioid manufacturers, and the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma. It's been many, many years, but they are now coming close to wrapping up some of that litigation. There are, if you'll see in the memos from our attorneys regarding this matter, there are 2 resolutions that the attorneys have requested that this board adopt and sign. The first resolution regards accepting the Purdue Pharma bankruptcy plan and settlement against the Sackler family. That's the first resolution. The second resolution is a acceptance of a settlement with 8 different opioid manufacturers. So there are 2 separate motions, the Purdue Pharma Sackler motion and then the 8 manufacturers motion. I did do some research because I knew folks would ask. The combined amount we expected, again, it's not guaranteed because it depends on how many people ultimately participate and sign these resolutions, how many entities. But according to our attorneys, it's an estimated combined total from both of those litigation matters of about $85,389. So not a huge amount, but a significant amount, and money that we would not receive if we didn't participate in this litigation. So I guess I would request that the board make a motion to adopt the 2 resolutions before you regarding Purdue Pharma, Sackler, and the 8 manufacturers of opioids, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
And do we need to take these separately, or can we make one motion?
I think you can make one motion as long as it's clear that you're approving both of them.
Okay.
Yes. And also you'll be signing the resolution, so it'll be very clear.
Right. Okay, so first, before we take the motion, we'll hear if the public has anything to say on either of these settlements. In the back.
Good evening, Kelly Carroll, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight because this resolution is incredibly important, not just in terms of accountability, but in how we move forward as a community. I fully support the town's decision to hold opioid manufacturers accountable. These funds are desperately needed to strengthen recovery, education, prevention, and support services like our local methadone hub. But I also want to express something very personal and very clear. I do not support the creation of a safe injection site in Bennington. As someone who has experienced addiction in my own family, I believe in hope, healing, and long-term recovery, not spaces that normalize continued use. It's also important for the public to know that under current Vermont law, I believe it was Act 178 that was enacted in 2024, needle exchange programs are now allowed to apply to become supervised injection sites. That means a program already operating here, or one that starts in the future, could legally convert into an overdose prevention center without necessarily requiring a vote or broad community input. If these opioid settlement funds are meant to help, then let's make sure they truly help people move forward. And if any proposal is ever brought before us to use these funds for an overdose prevention center, I respectfully ask that it be brought before the voters, not just decided administratively. If you recall, when the state was talking about these centers, they had decided to do one up north in Chittenden County, and the other one was going to be down south, either in Brattleboro or Bennington. And in March of 2025, Brattleboro had Article 3, which was an advisory vote for the legislature that if they decided to put one of those in Bennington, that it should go before the voters. It's just advisory, but as Jeannie said when we were talking about voting changes and stuff, if it's something that we feel strong about, we should get it up and have our voices heard. So I do ask respectfully that if you do decide to do something like that with this money, that it is brought before the community to discuss before that decision is made, and that there's a vote that is held. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Mike.
I back up what Kelly said. I think there should be real serious thought, like she said, about what we're going to do with that money. Maybe we ought to have, I mean, Chief Doucette had a nice presentation at the last meeting. Bring him in and see what his opinion is. I hope he doesn't wear the shirt he's wearing tonight if he makes another presentation, but that's his own personal, you know. But I really do believe that Kelly's right. We need to have this seriously brought before the community, because I get to know a lot of people running around this thing, and you know, some of the people that are not too well off money-wise, or they got drug problems or alcoholic problems. They're not bad people. They really aren't. But the new pathway you guys built up by Bennington Elementary, that every night, every day is crowded with people that are basically homeless and don't have a place to go. And I think we got to start solving some of those problems. And at some point, we need to talk about a warming shelter for the winter, because there's a lot more this year with the voucher thing going away. So, but I back up what Kelly just said.
All right. I mean, I think we should point out that I have heard no discussion around how we'd actually expend these funds at this point.
That's correct. So that any funds we receive with regard to the opioid settlements will go into a reserve fund, and they will not be expended unless and until this board authorizes their expenditure.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be spent on drug prevention?
It does have to be spent on, to address opioid issues.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And just to be clear, the towns receive money, the state receives money, and then there's a special fund that gets the majority of the money. That's a state fund. So there's several different pockets of money that the state controls to one degree or another. And then of course, it's a nationwide settlement, so each state has different ways of taking that money in and expending it, but it is restricted to opioid issues.
Anyone else? All right, then I would ask for a motion. We'll talk after the motion. Ask for a motion to accept the resolution regarding the Purdue Pharma and Sackler family bankruptcy plan and settlement, and the resolution regarding the Alvogen, Amneal, Apotex, Hikma, Indivior, Mylan, Sun, and Zydus, collectively the manufacturers' settlements.
I'll make that motion. Thank you for pronouncing all of those.
Thank you. I'm not sure I did pronounce them all.
You did a great job.
Second.
Okay, thank you very much. Any discussion from the board? Clark.
Hi, I can't quite recall where I saw it, but I saw provisions or restrictions that this money, you say, must be used for opioid issues, but specifically, I think there's a 15% cannot be used for law enforcement or drug suppression activities. Does that constraint go along with us?
Clark, I do recall that type of language, but I can't put my finger on it. But yes, it's very specific about what it can be used for. Yep. And obviously, before we have to make a determination about how we're going to expend it, we'll make sure that we have all the regulations so that we can ensure that it's appropriately expended.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yep.
Jackie?
So Dan, you had offered a figure about 85,300 in that neighborhood.
Yes.
Is that, a lot of the language in the settlements talks about it being paid out over a period of 16 years, 10 years from some various periods of time for different manufacturers. So that 85,000, is that in total over 15 years, or is that per year? I'm just looking for clarity.
That is a total payment, and some of them are paid immediately, and some of them are paid up over a number of years, but that is the total amount that will be coming just to the town. So, for instance, in the state of Vermont, 70% of this settlement that goes to the state of Vermont will go to the state opioid abatement fund. 15% will go to the so-called state fund, and then 15% goes to the state municipalities, and then it's divided based on population, et cetera. So the town of Bennington's share of that settlement from both of those settlements is approximately $85,389, according to our attorneys.
But over a period of time?
Over a period of year,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Then all those in favor of accepting the two resolutions, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right.
And Tom,
Thank you very much.
Tom, I will circulate the resolutions.
Thank you. All right, next, we have appointments to boards and commissions. As everyone knows, a while back, we requested further applicants to some various board and commission openings. We did conduct interviews and reach consensus on the following slate. To the Historic Preservation Commission, Megan Albert. To the Energy Committee, Bruce Lee Clark. And to the Bennington Housing Authority, Scott Fox. For the purposes of discussion, could I please have a motion to accept the slate?
So moved.
And a second. All right, any discussion? Nancy?
When we were discussing possible appointments, I had a question on a policy that is tied to this process. Because I don't feel the answer I received was adequate, I'm going to have to vote no on this tonight.
Anyone else? All right, Clark?
Point of clarification on the housing board position. Do we need to clarify what was clarified to us when we conducted the interviews?
I mean, we had a bunch of very exceptional candidates
Absolutely,
for
yes.
that position. Further research did show that this was reserved for a resident or Section 8 recipient, and that did come into play in our decision-making, but I'm 100% confident that Mr. Fox was the leading candidate regardless.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make it quite clear to folks that there were constraints in the selection process that we weren't aware of when we asked the public to participate.
I have something.
Jackie?
I do just want to say that I appreciate the concern that had been raised about some of the procedural questions, and I was satisfied with the answer that we got.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. All those in favor of accepting the slate as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
No?
And any abstentions? All right. Thank you very much, and I do appreciate all of the candidates, and if you were not selected, please do continue to seek ways to help your community. I really can't stress that enough. It was refreshing to have so many applicants. All right, next. Item 8, Community Policing Advisory Review Board vacancies. We do have 2 vacancies on that board. As a result of resignations, I don't really need to go into the reasons behind those. They're personal to the people. But we do need to notify the public that we can accept some, if you are interested in serving on that board, to please contact the manager. As far as time frame, does anyone have suggestions? Do you think a month is sufficient?
Yeah, I think a month's sufficient, but the idea of sooner the better in my mind.
Yeah.
Coming up on deer season, we don't want to step on that.
Right. I do want to give people the opportunity to get their stuff together, though. Okay. Does anyone have anything to add to that? Thank you. Now on to item 8A, discussion of a temporary modification of the charge to CPARB. It occurred to me that as we are shorthanded on that board currently, and they do need to reorganize, that 2 of the 5 members currently do not qualify under the current charge to seek an officer position. What I am suggesting, and this is merely my suggestion, and I'm open to comments from the board and of course the community, that we suspend the training requirement for the secretary position and the vice chair position. I think the chair position should remain under the current language of the charge. I think this would give the board some latitude that they don't currently have as it stands right now. With 3 people qualified for 3 slots, they don't have many options available to them. This in no way, I think, would actually should be interpreted as a direction from us to appoint anyone differently. I just want to give them some flexibility when they are discussing their appointments at their next meeting. So I will open it up first to the public. If anyone has anything to comment, Kate?
Kate Cost, Bennington, and I am the current acting chair of the CPARB and have been the vice chair for over a year. My only concern about your proposal is that none of the new members, because we've been waiting to hear about this process, have had any training at all. And so they have not been trained in open meeting law or in human resources, both of which are really critical to our process, particularly open meeting law. And I would suggest change to your suggestion that that be in place for a secretary, but the vice chair who acts in place of the chair when the chair is not available, that the vice chair be someone who's at least received that kind of training. And I would expect that would occur, that training, potentially if we're able to set it up with all the people. At least the open meeting law would be critical, I think, to that position. The other parts of the training do not involve the town staff, but that in particular involves both the police department executives, officers, and the and town staff. So sometimes that can be tricky to pull all those people together. But that would be my suggestion. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Kelly?
I guess I would agree with Kate about, the dilemma that you're in, which is basically self-created. But the vice chair, I think, should have to go through the training. And I listened to some of the questions that came out at the last meeting when the chief did his update. And I listened to some of the questions that came out in CPARB's June meeting. And it's clear how much you don't know what you don't know. Listening to some of the questions about, hey, can we get, our officers to come in from New York or Mass and just kind of like push them through. And there's reasons that you can't because of the laws and how they vary from state to state. And if you're going to put somebody in place on a board, they really have to understand the limitations of what they can do and the specifics on what they can't. Because if they do something incorrect, the consequences can be very detrimental to the town. And if you recall, those of you that were on the board for a couple of years, we did have a couple of incidents early on where we had some abuse of power complaints. We had an officer, the lieutenant, one day was basically blindsided on litigation that we were very, very specifically told multiple times we could not question. And just misspeaking during something like that could cost the town tens of thousands of dollars. So don't be penny wise and pound foolish. The requirement was in there for a reason from the get-go. Don't change it just because you decided to go in a different direction and put different people on the board and change the community portion of it. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then I would hear a motion for the purposes of discussion, if anyone cares to make it, modifying temporarily for this year only, modifying the charge of the CPARB to waive the training requirement for secretary and vice chair. Could I hear that motion?
Could I ask for a clarification?
Sure.
When you speak of the training requirement, are you speaking of open meeting law and ethics training as well as the training specifically with the police department?
Everyone on all of our boards is required to take the state ethics training.
Right, that was my question.
And I did have a question that I was going to bring up around the open meeting law training after we started the... So if I could hear the motion, please. Would anyone care to make the motion?
Not as eloquently as you stated it, but what Tom said, no.
Thanks, Clark. Could I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. And yeah, I do have a question, Dan. How quickly do you think we could provide the open meeting law training to these? Because I agree it is fairly critical training.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually, my recollection is that's usually done by our counsel, who is out of town this week, but should be back in town next week, so perhaps as soon as 2 weeks we could get it. I don't know her schedule right now.
The reason I brought it up this evening is because I expect they'll be organizing on Thursday, so that's the only reason I didn't hold off on it until set point. Anyone else? Nancy?
I want the vice chair to have completed all the training, including with the police department.
Thank you. Jim?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I think that anybody that's appointed to any of our boards, commissions, is required to take those training, the ethics training, and to cover open meeting law as quickly as possible, as soon as it can be set up. And I know at least the ethics training is online, right? So I wouldn't expect those things to change for this. I hope not, anyway. I think the matter of the training with the police department is a little bit more complicated, and I appreciate the concern because it's a time commitment for the police department to do this, and if it would definitely be easier if we could arrange it so that that's done for all of the new CPARB members at once instead of doing 2 at one time and then a month later doing 2 more. So I think that makes a fair bit of sense, but I think the other trainings that are required for everybody should move along as quickly as possible.
Inappropriate, and I apologize, but the first 2 years at CPARB, when Merrill came in and did the open meeting training for us, it was during the meetings, so it's actually recorded. If somebody wanted to go back and look at them, they could just watch those until Merrill gets back. Could you repeat that so people don't?
Yeah, Kelly just pointed out that the first 2 open meeting law trainings were done by council at their meetings, which were recorded, so people could have the opportunity to go back and view those, which could be helpful.
Kate Klaus, Bennington. The concern that I would have about viewing those is that some of that may have been changed since that was 3 years ago. or more. And so I would be concerned about that. Also, there's not this exchange of questions, ideas that come up in an open meeting. What about this circumstances or that? So I understand entirely that the issue here is what to do about these two positions. Obviously, we want to have somebody who has been on the board for at least a year who would be chair, because they would know some of this history. So that becomes important. But I don't know that how we could do this in the next 3 days.
Right.
So that's the other issue, because we were supposed to reorganize in June and had a tie vote. And so that's why it got pushed to August. The other thing that I just want to let you know is there's close to 15 or 16 different items, elements of the police department that new members are trained on, including observations in dispatch, use of force, animal control, all you name it, we got it, okay? And it can take days if we were to do it, more than 2 weeks, and fitting into someone else's, the chief and the lieutenant are the ones that deliver that, and then we bring in detectives, et cetera, in there. So it would be impossible, Nancy, for us to complete that before bringing these two individuals. Impossible to take potentially several months for them to complete that, just because of schedules, and just as a point of clarification on why that is I would argue, not a reasonable request of the chief and lieutenant to provide all that training in the next month. Okay, but that's my 2 cents on the,
all right, thank you.
Open meeting.
Any more discussion from the board? Jackie?
Yeah, I was going to raise a similar point about updates to open meeting law training. I think that's salient. I'm to understand that there's a list of specific trainings that the police department wants to provide to members of CPARB. I did go looking for that list. I wasn't able to find it, so I'd love if I could take a look at that at some point, although I don't know that that's really relevant to my concerns tonight. I think I'm in favor of allowing a secretary and a vice chair to be elected without receiving the trainings, but I do think it's important to prioritize and move as quickly as possible for the open meeting law training and the ethics training. I do think those are critical.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Sarah?
So I'm in favor of waiving these. Their staff time is pretty valuable, and as Ms. Cost has mentioned, they're intensive. Yeah. So I'm wondering, our open meeting law trainings are on Zoom. We've done those many, many years on Zoom. So I'm wondering, Dan, is that something that we could have? VLCT, that's online too, right?
I don't know what trainings VLCT has online regarding open meetings. Obviously, there's resources online from VLCT. Like we've mentioned, typically our council conducts those, and I think that is the most valuable way to do it and the way to get the best information. But obviously, folks can educate themselves, or we can send them information to read so they get a general overview. But it's not the same as a training.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking maybe a compromise would be having them do a VLCT training so they'd get the basics right now and then go back and do the whole thing that gets the whole comprehensive open meeting law training. Mm-hmm. That's my thought right now, so that we don't expend all of our resources in one place and then do them again.
And I have not seen the upcoming CPARB agenda, but I do assume that reorganization is on that agenda.
Yeah, it is.
And, certainly we want you to be able to move forward as quickly as possible with that process so you can get on with your work. And that's the only reason I'm bringing this up tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And only because there were 2 resignations.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, since the year began, since in June.
Not in our control.
Yeah. So they came after the recruitment and interviews, et cetera, appointment that you had. So they're recent. They're this summer.
Anything else from the board? Nancy?
I still feel it's critical that the vice chair has had the training from the police department, because that vice chair may have to fill in for the chair at a meeting. So I can see letting the secretary not have to have the training from the police department, but the vice chair should certainly have it ahead of time.
As acting chair and previous vice chair, I would agree. That it's helpful in our, because sometimes we get complaints, we also get compliments, but it's helpful if the individual who's the vice chair is also a part of that, and can also conduct listening sessions, so they're fully aware of what the police department does and does not do, what their role in the community is, and all the elements in practice of community policing. So it's really helpful if the vice chair has that full complement of training. Yeah.
Clark, you had something?
Yeah, yes, I do. I want to strongly second Sarah's approach, and I put it in the context of we're not looking at a standard set of circumstances here. We're kind of making an on-the-fly adjustment to a situation that needs to be addressed. And I think the idea of an individual reviewing VTLC-type training for open meeting law, and at a later date when we can get Marilyn, because again, all this, mysteriously, we're not the center of her universe, we can get her in on it to fill in the rough spots. But I think it's important that we get CPARB up to a functional staffing level. And I think doing this measure you're mentioning is fine, but the ethics law, which of course, if you get a half hour on your PC at home, you've completed that requirement, and also the idea of using VLTC online. I think when I first came to the board, I actually did do a VLTC class on open meeting law, so it's there. And again, if there are questions, that's again why we have counsel, we have Dan, we have you, and
I have a liaison.
Yeah, and the liaison. But I really, the most important thing is we need to get things going. We just can't get gummed up in fine details that we're going to do away with in a year anyways.
Jackie, you had something?
I don't know that it's really important, but if it makes a difference, we could also split the motion to talk about secretary and vice chair separately.
I did want to, I think Nancy raises a point that merits discussion, certainly. So if we do have, I'm happy to split the motion or hear that motion, but I think we can discuss it without doing that initially and then just modify the motion. If people feel that just opening it up to secretary would be sufficient, or if that's the best we can do, I think we should talk about that. Does anyone have any thoughts?
We should split it.
I'm looking at the reorganization efforts, off the top of my head. We have to see who's even interested in being an officer. So if we don't have an experienced individual who's ready to step into one of those positions, where are we at?
Right. And I considered the thought that if no one wants to be vice chair, could they do without a vice chair? And I think that creates a dangerous situation in that if the chair is for some reason incapacitated and can't serve, there needs to be someone that's able to step into that role. And I have, since it's their board to organize, I don't know where those discussions are going, or what the willingness of any of the other board members is to fill in these holes. I'm just trying to, my thought was to give them some flexibility so that they could find people that are willing to do the jobs. Because I think that's paramount, is that the person that's appointed actually want to do it. But any thought on
it occurs to me that even if we agree to waive those requirements for a vice chair, the board could still decide that they're not comfortable with that and not elect someone as vice chair for the reason that they haven't had the training. So I think I might be in favor of leaving that decision in the board's hands.
Yeah, certainly, ultimately, the decision's theirs. And if they choose to take that tack, which I wouldn't necessarily not be in support of, I just want them to have as much flexibility as humanly possible. I do feel strongly that the chair position should remain with someone that's had the full training, for the very same reasons I think you raised, Nancy.
Well, chair and vice chair, same thing.
Yeah.
Can I have just one?
Jim?
Yeah, maybe if we could add to the motion to make it clear that while that requirement is waived at the moment for the purpose of this reorganization, the understanding and expectation is that everyone on the board who hasn't had the required training gets it as soon as it is offered. So it's not like it was out there for a year or two, you know, it's...
I think that's already covered in the charge, and I know that the chief is conscious of the fact that he has to do these trainings. But if we want to add that language, just to make it clear.
I only say it just because the way the discussion is going, it almost reads like, well, these people aren't going to be required to have the training.
No.
And it's like, as soon as that training can be arranged for what would be essentially 4 new members, that they would be required to take the training.
All right.
So I have a thought, and this is going to throw a monkey wrench in some people's minds, and some people's minds it's going to say, I think the discussion right here is whether or not a vice chair is going to already have the training. And reorganization is Thursday, is that correct, Kate? Okay, so for me, I'm seeing this as we revisit this at the next meeting, because there's a lot of questions floating around as to whether the vice chair is going to have the training. What are our thoughts on that?
Well, that would defeat the purpose of having the motion at all at this point, though. If they can't nominate someone for one of the positions because they haven't had the training, because we haven't waived the training requirement, then there's really nothing for us to discuss at the next meeting.
Right. Then we wouldn't have to discuss it.
Right. I'm kind of leaning towards splitting the motion at this point. So, who made the motion? Clark?
Yes.
Okay. Are you willing to withdraw that motion?
Absolutely. I'll withdraw the motion as previously.
Okay. So let's split the motion and take them in turn. So could I have a motion to waive the training requirement first for secretary for this year only?
I make the motion that the CPARP secretary position training requirements be waived for this coming year only.
And a second?
Sure, I did the first one, I'll do the second.
All right, so discussion on secretary.
My only concern is to beat this dead horse is that, you know, the motion is to waive it for a year, and I would say you can waive it, but the expectation is that the training will be taken as soon as it's available and offered.
All right, Clark, would you accept that modification in your motion?
Absolutely. I was sitting here running through my mind area that
Do we want to put
as soon as possible
frame on that?
within the year.
2 months?
You know.
Because 2 months would be then before the next time that CPARP meets.
Yeah, no, the constraint around the time has to do with the availability of those who are training. For example,
Yeah, thank you. I think we're talking about the open meeting law and ethics training
okay,
only.
and that's it. 'Cause
I believe so, yeah.
All of our members have already had the ethics training. They've already done that. So that's not an issue. It's the open meeting.
Just the open meeting.
But if you were to require all the training, like some of this training will occur with the police department staff, officers, et cetera. For example, we're going to have implicit bias training. That's everybody. So that takes some time to set up. So if it's only those 2 things, then I have no issue with it. But to have them have all the training within 2 months is unreasonable.
Thank you for that clarity.
Sure.
And that would be my condition, that the open meeting law training be completed before the next regularly scheduled CBORD meeting.
Which is not until October.
Very much so.
Okay, and Jim, with your second?
Yeah.
Okay.
And on that second, I would just like to possibly use that compromise if that's something we could put in the motion.
That's what I just...
Is that the VLCT training that's in the compromise?
No,
That's
that
in the
they get their
motion?
regular open meeting law training...
The regular, okay.
...before their October meeting.
Okay. For me, that it feels like it expounds a lot of staff energy instead of just using the quicker version that doesn't expound a lot of staff energy when we don't have a full board.
I would personally encourage them to take the VLCT training, but I think we should have town council present the training as is normal. Nancy?
Just so I'm clear, we're voting that the secretary does not have to complete the training with the police department. I mean, to be secretary.
To be nominated.
To be nominated to be secretary.
Yes, okay.
But they do have to complete it, they do have to eventually complete it.
Yes, at some point they will, but...
As soon as it can be arranged.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Any more discussion on secretary?
Do have a question.
Go ahead,
Dan,
Sarah.
what is the cost for a town lawyer to complete VLCT, or the open meeting law training?
I don't know off the top of my head, probably a few $100s.
Okay. So we'd be paying a few $100s for maybe 1 or 2 people to do a training?
Which we do every year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but it's
And
budgeted.
and if we were to do it for a group of people, it would cost the same amount?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the same amount of time.
All right, yeah, I'm just looking at the cost savings if we were to wait until we had a full board.
I believe we have budgeted $7,500 for the CPARB.
I don't know that in front of me, but I remember we did
I
add
think
money
we
for
created
training.
a CPARB education reserve during the last session's budget meeting, I recall.
Right.
We said, I'm not sure of the exact number, but I do know that there was a training reserve specifically set aside for CPARB.
A line item, not a reserve
Right.
per se, but yeah, there was. All right, so anything else on the secretary? All right, so we'll call the vote. All those in favor of waiving the police training requirement for the position of secretary on CPARB at this time, with the understanding they will take the open meeting law training and the ethics training prior to their October meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? All right, that carries.
I have a question. Are we leaving the 1 year in there?
It's this term. This term.
Waived for 1 year.
For 1 year?
Yep.
You didn't say that again. It's coming back. Okay.
Chief Doucette, I didn't see you here.
Yes, I was home and I was seeing the meeting, and I wanted to try to wear a better shirt than what you're wearing, so I thought I'd come here tonight and visit. I did not plan on speaking this evening, so I apologize for being out of uniform. There's been a lot of talk around open meeting law in Vermont and changes that were made in January of 2025. The Vermont Secretary of State's website has about a 40-minute training on it currently that is up to date. And I would strongly encourage you, maybe through Kate, to have the new CPARB folks take a look at that training, at least so that they're somewhat versed in changes that have been made to the open meeting law so that we're prepared for Thursday night's meeting. The police department is ready to move forward with training for new CPARB folks. We've had the same concern. I think that Jackie or someone raised here, or I'm sorry, I forget who raised it, but training new CPARB folks now and then again in a couple of months is time consuming for all of us. But we are ready and we're able to do that. We just had a staff meeting today, in fact, with all of our new supervisors, and we're ready ready to move forward with CPARB training. But again, we have a few days. Hopefully they can carve out, 38 to 40 minutes in the next couple of days and watch that open meeting law training as provided by the state at no cost. I know that bringing Merrill down can be costly. We pay the hourly rate for her to be here, but it would not hurt any of us, all of us, to sit through open meeting law. I think that would be imperative and make it worthwhile. And as far as the police department budget goes, we did not give $7,500 as a reserve to CPARB. It was more like $3,500, big difference there. And I just want to make sure that we're clear on that as well. So we look forward to training the new CPARB folks. Kate's been great, filling in as chair. We do have 3 members that are eligible to sit in the chairs currently. And you all just voted, so we'll see how that goes on Thursday night. But we got to make sure that we have a solid board in place, especially if we're going to make decisions. So thanks for listening.
Thanks, Chief, for coming down.
Thank you.
All right, so on to the vice chair question. If we could have a motion to waive the training requirements around the police training, keeping in mind that they would still have to take the ethics and open meeting law training before October for the next year for the position of vice chair. For the purpose of discussion, could I have that motion?
I make that motion to waive the requirements for the coming year as you stipulated.
And a second? Clark, second. All right, so discussion, please.
Oh, how is that different? How is that different than the secretaries? I thought you had, the discussion that I heard was about the vice chair having had all of the training already.
We decided to separate it into 2 separate motions, Kate, so we're discussing the second one now.
I'm just asking for a distinction between what you voted on for the secretary.
There is none.
Oh, there isn't any? Oh, curious. Okay. I thought there was going to be, which is why you separated them.
No, we separated them just for the sake that they're 2 different positions.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Jim?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, in thinking over and hearing what people have said, I have to say that it is a logical problem if the chair has to have the training and the vice chair doesn't, if the vice chair serves in the exact same role as the chair when the chair is not available. So I would have a hard time, I guess, getting those to connect.
Jackie?
I guess in response to that, I would, I think also correct a statement that was made previously that I think was incorrect in that it was said that these requirements have always existed, but that's not the case. In fact, when the board was initially formed, they organized before anyone had an opportunity to have these trainings. And so, given the unique circumstances of the first year that they were in existence and the unique circumstances now, there's maybe some comparison.
Anyone else?
Well,
Nancy?
they have had the training for a couple of years, and I think it's as equally as critical for the vice chair to have completed the training with the police department as it is the chair, because there may be a time the chair isn't there. The vice chair needs to know what's going on. So I can't support this if the vice chair doesn't have to finish up the training with the police department prior to being nominated.
Okay. Anyone else? Clark?
I raise the conundrum of when they go to reorganize, if they don't have a fully trained person who's willing to step up to the plate. So we're going to have absent vice chair position. And that's one of the biggest problems we have here is getting things filled in, getting people in the right place, at the right time, the right training. And, 3 folks who are there now, I'm in no position to say what they are or not willing to do. But, we'll have egg on our face if in 2 weeks from now we discover they had a failed reorganization because they didn't have any qualified aspirants.
Anyone else? Well, no, you can't technically, but we're happy to take your question.
I just wanted to correct you. When CPARB initially started, we went through all of our training prior to organizing. So we started all of our training in July, August, and September, and the board never organized until October.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, everybody's persuasive tonight, so Clark had a very good point about trying to give them as much flexibility as possible. My concern about the vice chair having the same training qualifications as the chair is it goes away to an extent if we know that that training is going to happen and be taken really quickly. I'm really reluctant to put it out and say waive it, for a year. I'm not good with that because I do think that there's going to be times during the coming year where the vice chair probably has to act as chair. So, I think I could support it, but I really want some type of a time horizon on this thing so that we know that there's not a vice chair who doesn't have the same training as the chair.
What if we changed it to, first of all, not saying this year, for saying this cycle of appointments? The chief has expressed that they intend to perform the training as quickly as possible, and I take him at his word on that. Or even just to say, for the purpose of this reorganization. Go ahead,
I would say there is a time horizon already in that new members of CPARB have to receive that training within 9 months, and we're 4 months in, so the horizon is an additional 5 months at the most, and it sounds like it's not going to take that long.
We do have the question of the 2 remaining seats. Nancy?
This board did decide in June not to reappoint either of the 2 CPARB members who asked to be reappointed, who both had been trained. So just because we're in a situation now where we're short on people being trained, I don't think that we should drop the requirements of standards for the chair and the vice chair.
That's a valid point, but we could also not foresee at that point, that we were going to have 2 resignations, which I think has to fall into our thought processes somewhere.
Sure. I don't want to waive the requirement for the vice chair because of the reasons that were mentioned. I also don't want to push staff to train one person at a time. I think that's not realistic. I also don't want to vote on this before the next meeting, so I know most people are ready to do that. I don't know. I don't know right now. I wish we could wait till reorganization, so that's where I'm at.
Anyone else? Clark?
Sarah brings up another good point.
Clark, is your mic on?
Yeah, come reorganization, if they manage to identify an already trained individual who will be the vice chair as part of the election, I guess our actions here are moot. But if they don't, and the person who aspires to and is chosen for that position has to understand that by stepping up to the plate, there's a timeline that they have to step up to the plate. They just can't drag things out. That 5 months that we have here, that they're going to be expected to really go into overdrive to fill the requirements for that position. So, I can see holding off till our next meeting, but again, that's predicated on CPARB coalescing and coming up with good candidates or people who accept the position, hopefully who are already trained. But if If they don't do that, then I guess it's up to this board to step in and kind of take charge of the situation.
I mean, I would hope that CPARB is able to reorganize at their next meeting.
Absolutely.
I think I think that they should be able to discuss this and come to an agreement as a board. And, I mean, I was a little disappointed they didn't reorganize at their last meeting. I understand there were challenges, but again, we, as a matter of practice, and not necessarily policy, but as a matter of tradition, we don't dictate to our boards who they appoint for any of these positions. And we try to stay out of that as much as humanly possible. This is an extraordinary circumstance. I'm hearing very mixed emotions from this board.
Tom, excuse me,
go ahead.
if I could interrupt here. So I would look at it, if they reorganize and boom, they have a slate of officers that meet all training requirements, basically our discussion tonight is moot. If they don't, then we can come back to the next meeting and say, in light of this circumstance, we need to seek a waiver of these training requirements for the purpose of reorganization and expediting CPARB's function. So
in terms of the vice chair,
For-
because we have
for the
already
vice chair.
passed, we already passed the resolution
Right.
for secretary.
Yes, but I think that's probably what we kind of put it on their shoulders. If they can't do it, then we'll have to take care of that time. But I think we'll give them to reorganization. If they come up with 3 candidates who are qualified, it's a moot point what we're doing tonight.
Thoughts on that, Jim?
Is that a suggestion to withdraw the motion pending the outcome of CPARB's next meeting and take it up if necessary at our next meeting?
I think that's a reasonable approach, you know.
I'm willing to withdraw.
And I believe it was Clark's motion.
Yeah.
Second. Second that motion if you're making it, Clark.
Clark is offering to withdraw his motion, I believe.
No, I'm sorry, I made the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jackie, I apologize. It was Clark that made the motion of the first one. Yep, I apologize. Jackie, your thoughts?
I withdraw the motion.
Okay. There we have it.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were making the new motion, okay. Okay.
If necessary, we'll take this up at the next meeting. I really hope it's not necessary.
I just want to be clear, since I'll be chairing, since I'll be chairing.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
Yeah, I know, I'm going to, I just needed to get here. Since I'll be chairing the meeting on Thursday, I just want to be really clear about the decisions that you've made. The secretary is the only officer who does not have to complete the entire training, but only has to complete the ethics training and the open meeting law, correct?
By October.
By October.
Okay.
Yep.
Wonderful, thank you.
At this point. If you guys can't manage to reorganize, we'll take it up again next time.
We anticipate that we'll be able to do that.
Okay, good.
So that's great. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. That went on more than I thought it was going to, but that's why we have these discussions. All right, next on our agenda is the ratification of designation of acting town manager. So I'm sure most of the community is aware by now, Stuart Hurd is out on extended medical leave. And we met in executive session and decided that it was best for this board to take action. I circulated a suggestion of a motion earlier and heard back from no one objecting to it. So if anyone would care to make that motion?
I move to appoint Dan Monks acting town manager until town manager Stuart Hurd returns from extended medical leave.
Have a second, please?
Second that motion.
All right. Any discussion? Sarah?
Before, I actually don't. I think the delegation, should we read the delegation? So that we know, people know it's not just coming from us.
Stuart did sign a delegation of his duties to Dan prior to tonight. When it first became evident that he was going to be on an extended leave, he did sign a document that delegated his powers to Dan. It's looking like this is going to go beyond the initial deadline of August 31st. And it is my hope that by this board taking action, that Stuart can focus on his recovery and know that the town is in good hands. And in turn, also the townspeople know that government has been and will continue to function as normal. Does anyone have anything to add to that? Clark?
Yes, I do. Probably like most people on the board, I've been contacted by multiple entities within the community, and I cannot stress that any greater that the town has functioned well. There's been no shortcomings in town governance, and I don't believe any services have been impacted by Mr. Hurd's illness. And in keeping with what the rest of the board says, I wish him a speedy recovery, but the most important thing we can do is the select board and hopefully the people of Bennington can do is send our prayers and good wishes to Mr. Hurd and thank him for all he's done. And but I think we need to focus on that the town's business is getting done, and Mr. Monks has been doing his job and 2 or 3 others in an exceptional manner. And I think we need to recognize that and kind of fade away from the finger pointing that I've been hearing. But that's what I want to make sure people understand. There's absolutely no deficit in town governance or services rendered to the people of Bennington.
Anyone else?
I would just echo wishing Stu a speedy recovery.
I think we all wish that this wasn't necessary. I do hope that this will, so Stu doesn't have to say, okay, I need to extend this, that he knows it's handled until such time as he is able to return. Nancy?
I support this. I wish we had taken this action in early August. That's it.
The only thing I would add is, just so people know, the town manager's position is the responsibility of the select board, and I think that this action through this motion makes it clear, that it's, we have been operating under a delegation of authority to the acting town manager, and this at least makes it clear that the select board is stepping up to its responsibility of maintaining oversight of the town manager position, acting or otherwise.
Thanks, Stu. Anyone else? All right, then I will call the vote. All in favor of naming Dan Monks acting town manager until such time as Stuart Hurd is able to return from his extended medical leave, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. And Dan, thank you very much for accepting the responsibility.
I wish it wasn't necessary, but thank you very much.
On to manager's report.
Okay. I guess I'm up. We do have one, excuse me, let me know if you don't hear me. We do have one action item tonight. We do have a request from Mr. T.J. Carmody to close Main Street from Safford Street to Depot Street on September 13th from approximately 12:45 p.m. to 2 p.m. That's perhaps optimistic and maybe a little earlier than that, but that's kind of the extent of it for a halfway to St. Patrick's Day parade.
And they used to have this parade, didn't they, back some time ago?
I believe there was a parade. I can't remember if it was Hoosick Falls or Bennington. I know there was a halfway to St. Patrick's Day parade, and I know that Mr. Carmody was involved.
Could I have a motion to approve the closure of Main Street as requested for the purposes of discussion?
I'll make that motion.
Clark? And a second, please.
Second.
Jackie, thank you. Any discussion?
Yes. Police have been notified.
Yes.
And looking at the chief, police have been notified about the parade. I'm just asking you for a yes, no.
I don't want to get yelled at.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Permits
Yes,
have been put in?
I was notified by Mr. Carmody. We had a sit-down, we had a conversation, we have a plan, and looking good. To answer your question, Tom, yes, we used to do this parade, and it's been a long time. Mr. Carmody left the area. He's back up for the summer, wants to have a parade. We'll have a parade, as long as you say yes.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Chief, can we get some free ice cream?
Only for you, Clark.
It's not a bribe, it's not a bribe.
Anything else? All right, so all in favor of granting the closure of Main Street as requested, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we're having a parade.
Thank you. I'm sure Mr. Carmody will be very happy to hear about that. I just have some informational things this evening to share. As most of you know, the Mount Anthony Bridge replacement has been completed. I just want to toot the DPW's horn a little bit. Based on an estimates received from bridge contractors, by doing this project in-house, the town saved almost $500,000. About $450,000. So I want to commend the DPW folks for undertaking that project. If you've seen the photos online, it was quite the project. So very proud of those folks and happy that we were able to save the taxpayers a significant amount on a bridge that had failed. Also want to remind everybody that the Planning Commission public hearing regarding the proposed new town plan is 6 p.m. on August 27th, right here at the Firehouse. This follows a public meeting on the proposed new town plan on August 13th. So that, just want to make sure that folks know that that is upcoming on August 27th. And my favorite, the skate park, is nearly complete, and we have the date for opening of the park scheduled for September 19th with a September 20th rain date. And I just want to read all the fun things that Shannon Barsati and the skate park committee has put together. There'll be a ribbon cutting and grand opening on September 19th from 5 to 9 p.m. 5 p.m. will be the ribbon cutting. 5:30 p.m. will be skating demos. 6 to 9 p.m. will be community skate. Throughout that period, we're going to have music from 4 different bands, including the Velvet Wave, Nice Try Kids, Immune Friction, etc. And food will be provided by Double D's food truck. And I think the chief says he might bring the Copsicle.
Only for Clark.
Okay. So if Clark's coming, then the Copsicle will be there. And we just hope that everybody comes out and celebrates a great community event. And we hope it doesn't rain, but if it does, we have September 20th as our backup. So that's all I have this evening.
All right, thank you very much. Upcoming agenda, all I have so far for next month is we'll be joined by the St. Francis of Assisi Society, who are a cat rescue organization. They'll be coming to speak to us, I believe, at our second meeting. Dan, do you have anything?
I do not, although I know that we didn't have anything last time. We filled this one up pretty quickly. But I will note that I know I can't believe we're saying this, but budget time is almost upon us, and we'll be meeting quite frequently pretty soon. So, yeah, that will take up our December, January for sure. So.
All right, other business.
I have 2 requests.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'll waste everyone's time because I've already made these at the last 2 meetings. We need to bring the Energy Committee back in. Based on what they said when they were here in June, they are not on the same page with the Select Board.
I went back and reviewed what they said in June, and what I heard them say is that they had actually reviewed their charge and were now acting upon it.
Well, when I read their minutes, I went back a year to see if I could get understanding. I believe they asked Ed, who was a member of the committee, to check on the charge. Well, it should have come to the Select Board. because the board did vote to restart the Energy Committee and made the decisions about the charge. On their webpage, it says they meet with the Select Board on a regular basis. Prior to June, I can't find record where they've been in for prior to a year. And just some of the things they said, I mean, they read a mission statement they've written. Well, the board would have to approve that. They said they made some adjustments, whatever, to their charge. Well, the board would have to approve that. They talked about using the town loan fund. I don't know why they would be getting involved in the town loan fund. I just think we all need to get on the same page.
Okay, and your second?
Cornerstone Housing. I invited the CEO, Mary Cohen, in June when I was at their meeting at their office on North Street to come to a select board meeting in July. She said she would be here. Now, Tom was in the audience like I was. Everyone heard me invite her. It says in the new town plan, our town should work with Cornerstone. I'd like to hear what Cornerstone is looking for from Bennington. I have a handout I picked up at their meeting that night. I didn't read it until I got home. It led me to have a couple more questions. And a lot of people still don't understand that Cornerstone Housing is now Shire's Housing. And they've merged...
Other way around. Shire's Housing.
I'm sorry, yeah. And they've merged with 2 Rutland County groups, and I recently read they've also merged with, I think it's Addison County. Now, I hadn't heard that before. So I just think there are some general things we need to get cleared up.
I did have some email communication with Ms. Cohn this week. She's on vacation, but she did express an interest in coming down to the select board, and we're going to discuss that as soon as she gets back to work.
So next month, we may be able to get her here.
I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom, if I could just add a little bit. Yeah, I think Mary Cohen would be happy to come to present to the select board. I was actually just going to send her a communique, so glad I didn't spend the time today if she's away. But, and as far as Addison County representation, NeighborWorks of Western Vermont has always included Addison County in their service territory. And so since NeighborWorks is one of those organizations that merged, obviously they brought Addison County along with them, at least for the NeighborWorks service, so yeah. I just want to say, like, I don't really see any particular controversy with the Energy Committee. Honestly, they're a good group of people doing good work, getting information out there to the public about how they can save money and save energy, and I'm sure they'd be happy to come in and tell us what they're up to. So I have no objection to hearing from them.
Yeah, and regarding the Energy Committee, I sit as their liaison, so I'll loop you in and have them invite you to their next meeting. It's open anyway, but I'll loop you in and invite you to the next meeting.
Well, I remember watching the select board meetings when they were discussing restarting the Energy Committee. There was a lot of discussion with citizens and the board, and at the end, the select board did vote. They decided what the charge was. And if the Energy Committee wants to make a lot of changes, they need to come back in here so the board and citizens can hear what they're suggesting and ask questions and get answers. They are not an independent group.
I appreciate what you're saying. I'm not convinced they changed their charge, but I will speak to their chair. Actually, I'll ask Sarah to speak to their chair to see if they have anything they can bring. Thank you. Is that up?
Fair warning, when energy gets on the agenda, I might talk a lot.
Noted. When are you going away again? Other business.
So, Tom, could I
Go ahead, Clark.
backtrack or maybe blend things? The dog ordinance, I know I keep harping on that, and it came up because somebody sent me a picture of their dog that escaped, and I let him know that he's on borrowed time if he keeps doing that.
I have had, Jim and I have met with the chief and with Kim Krozik. We've had an initial meeting regarding things we can look at in terms to the ordinance, and we expect to have at least one, probably a couple more before we have anything. And if anyone from the public has suggestions, they can email us on that as well. But we are working on that.
All right. And something that you and the rest of the board may be aware of, concerns about basically people trashing our town. That somehow, I don't know if we, some sort of resolution or put together some sort of community-based task force to impress upon people the importance of putting things in trash cans. And of course, whether it be businesses or landlords maintaining their property in a well-policed manner. But yeah, I guess that's probably one thing I heard about even before I got on the select board, people concerned about trash on the trails in particular. So if we could somehow work on that, whether it be just community outreach or whatever. I know Dan's been doing some things on that.
Dan's been doing some work on that already, but yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I can just quick update for Clark. We do have a meeting with the Bike Hub folks about perhaps partnering with the Friends of the Trails or Friends of the Loomsac Valley to deal with the trail issue. And I have spoken with Jonah about putting some notices on our website and promoting folks watching out and paying attention to the areas that have traditionally seen high levels of garbage and trash. So working on it, always open to ideas about how we could do a better job of getting the word out. But we are meeting, I think it's Thursday, with the Bike Hub to talk about that particular issue on the trails.
Thank you. Other business. Start with Nancy.
The public hearing Wednesday night on the town plan. Will CAT TV be here to cover it?
I don't know, but we will be recording it with an owl if CAT TV can't make it.
We need CAT TV for this.
We can't demand CAT TV to cover things, but we could certainly request it.
Well, I'm not demanding, but, and what about the BCRC? Will they also be here to answer questions?
I know that there will be representatives of BCRC. Yeah.
I'm very concerned. People in Bennington do not begin to understand how critical the town plan is, and this plan will be guiding the future of our town for at least 5 years. I don't think it's up to any citizen to have to read this 123-page report. I think it's our job to make sure that somebody gives a presentation. There is so much new information added, which has never been in a Bennington town plan. I was concerned 2 years ago when I learned officials had hired a diversity, equity, and inclusion expert who clearly had a big say in the town plan. I can read it as I read through the town plan. I think there should have been a public discussion 2 years ago. I tried to bring it up at a meeting. Officials didn't want to talk. This expert, as far as I know, has never had anything to do with Bennington, doesn't know about our town government, doesn't understand what our town taxpayers pay for and what they do not pay for.
Tom, a point of order. I appreciate wanting to talk about, bring up things that you want to talk about at a future meeting. This isn't the time in the agenda to talk about items that aren't on the agenda.
Jim, I tried to bring this up as a citizen 2 years ago. We are
going to have every opportunity to talk about the town plan, both at this public hearing, if we so desire, and at future public hearings for this board. I would encourage you to come with these comments at that point in time.
There will be multiple hearings, as many hearings as the select board wants. So that's your chance,
well,
Nancy, too.
What about the planning commission? Will they have another public hearing, or is it one and done?
They may or may not. That's up to them. You don't control the planning commission's process. You control the select board's process.
I'm not trying to control anybody's process. I want to make sure the citizens of this town have a fair say.
And that's what
there will be multiple public hearings, at least. Right,
yeah.
Exactly. Anything else?
That's it. But I hope people, if you're not going to be here, and if you can't watch the meeting, please make a point to watch it over the next week. And I've seen one video that the owl did. It wasn't a very good quality.
Dan, will you reach out to CAT TV and check their availability, please?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. Sarah?
Nothing from, well, a brief thing for me. I had an anniversary, my 9th anniversary, so I want to wish my husband, Michael Nigro, a happy anniversary. And I also want to wish our town manager, Stu Hurd, a well wishes.
Jim?
Nothing more for me, thanks.
Jackie?
Garlic Town is coming to downtown Bennington this weekend from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., I believe. So I hope I'll see many of you there. Come get stinky with us.
Clark?
I'll pass.
All right. Thank you.
I did think of one thing, question, could I ask?
Yeah, sure, please.
On the Planning Commission webpage on the town website, it says they're a 5-member board, but they've had 7 people for the past 2 years.
If that's true, we'll update it. That's true, we'll update it. I'll ask Joan to update it.
Did the Select Board have a public discussion and vote to increase the committee prior to June of 2023?
When they had appointed the additional members, I'm sure that they voted to do that because that's what happened. There were
The
7
Select
members.
Board did?
It's not the Planning Commission's purview to decide how many members they have. It's the Select Board's.
That's why I'm asking, did the Select Board discuss and vote to do this prior to June of 2023?
I'm assuming they did since there are now 7 members. Yep.
Does anyone who was on the board remember that discussion and vote?
That was a while ago, Nancy. I'd have to go back.
Okay. Well, I did look back at the agendas and didn't see it on there, so maybe I overlooked it, but I would like to know for sure that the board did vote to do this.
Okay, we can check into that. All right, we do have need for an executive session to discuss a contract. We will not be making any actions following this session. So could I please have a motion to enter executive session?
Make that motion.
And a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. It was nice to have a good crowd this evening.